Hey there, I'm Chris Americos, and I'm going to help you level up and show the world the best version of yourself. And in this video today, I'm going to tell you how you can become fluent in English using YouTube videos. You probably don't believe that you can become fluent in English just by watching YouTube videos. And if you don't believe that, then congratulations, you're right. Because you can't become fluent in a language, which means being able to speak the language freely just by watching something. You have to actually speak if you want to become fluent. Luckily, on YouTube, there's a feature that lets you speak. You might not be aware of this. I'm going to tell you about that feature at the end of this video. But first, I'm going to share 6 ways that you can improve your fluency using YouTube videos. The first strategy for using YouTube to become more fluent in English is what I call pause and repeat. This is when you find a video that you like or that you want to copy, you find a phrase or a sentence that you want to practice, and you pause the video, and then you yourself repeat what they just said. Well, some people know that, but they don't practice it. But you shouldn't go around repeating everything that you hear. Instead, you need to find someone who makes YouTube videos who you respect. Because more than anything else, when you repeat what someone else is saying, what you're doing is practicing connecting different words together and choosing the words that they choose to use. You can even practice repeating the sentence that I just said. Choose the words that they choose to use. Now, pause the video, go back, and try to repeat that phrase. You should notice that in this phrase, I said the word the and t, which is the and to. These words have strong pronunciation and weak pronunciation. The strong pronunciation is the weak pronunciation is the. And then the word to, it has a strong pronunciation, to, and a weak pronunciation, t. In both cases, I used the weak pronunciation of these words because they're not the words that we're focusing on in this sentence. When you pause a video and you go back and you repeat what they just said, you can do this multiple times on YouTube. And that's one of the great parts about using YouTube to watch videos and to learn a language. But to do this really effectively, you need to have a notebook or take notes on your computer, and you need to write down things that you hear and things that you notice. You want to write those things down and then ask questions to a professional teacher when you get the chance. Or if you're watching a professional English teacher like me, then you can just ask those questions in the comments or when you meet them live. And that brings us to the second method of using YouTube to become more fluent in English, which is reading the subtitles, the comments, the captions, and the description to the video. If the person you're watching on YouTube is like me and they're a professional teacher teaching English, then we're going to try really hard to make sure that everything is written correctly, right? We're going to spell words correctly, we're going to try to pronounce words correctly, and we're going to pay attention to this. But not everybody is a teacher. In fact, a lot of them don't do it correctly at all. But I'm not going to say who they are. And the truth is that sounding fluent in English sometimes means making mistakes on purpose. Many native speakers might think that you sound very strange if you don't make mistakes.
What?
Of course, they don't know that you're not making a mistake. They think that by speaking correctly, you're making a mistake. So when you're reading comments or text on YouTube or anywhere else on the internet, you need to remember that people make mistakes, and it might not always be correct. So people who create YouTube videos and upload content to YouTube, a lot of times they're just trying to express what they want to say, and they're trying to communicate something to you. So they might say or write something with a mistake, but that might not stop you from understanding them, which means they can still be fluent. Okay, methods 1 and 2 were really easy, let's be honest. Method number 3 is learn expressions. When you watch YouTube videos and you hear what people say on YouTube, you get an idea of expressions that people typically use to say things. A lot of times English speakers will use idiomatic phrases, and they'll use metaphors to explain what they're trying to say. And this makes their speech a little more interesting. It's a little more creative. One example of this is at the end of a lot of sentences, you hear me say the word, right? And this is an expression that I use a lot. So the person who you choose to watch and listen to might have some expressions that they use a lot, and it might tell you something about where they're from, or it might just tell you what kind of speaker they are and the words that they choose to use. So if you're using method number 1, pause and repeat, then this can be something that you really need to pay attention to because you don't want to say every expression that a person says. Maybe nobody says the thing that your YouTube teacher says, and then you go and say it to someone else, and people will give you a strange look, right? That's right. So watching different YouTube videos and content creators to learn expressions is especially useful when you're listening to someone who's not a teacher. That's what I do. I'm a teacher, so I try to communicate in a very clear and straightforward way so that you will understand everything that I say. And sometimes it even rhymes. And another thing that you need to be really careful of when you're listening to people on YouTube is slang. A lot of people who are learning languages, they try to learn slang and they think that that makes them more fluent. But honestly, there's different slang in different areas and different groups of people use different types of slang. So it's really risky to use slang because you might not understand all of the different meanings of those slang phrases. You might think that it sounds interesting, but it could also mean something very, very bad. Here's an example of an expression. If you believe that you can become fluent in English by watching YouTube videos, then I have a bridge in London that I want to sell you. What does that mean? That means if you believe something that's not true, then you will also believe that I have the London Bridge and I can sell it to you. The fourth method that you can use to become more fluent using YouTube videos is listening to different accents. And this is something that I really like about YouTube. You can find different teachers, different speakers, different video makers from different places around the world, and you can hear how they speak. If you've ever taken a lesson with me and asked me a question about how to improve your accent, then you know that the first thing I always say is you need to choose which accent you want to have. Different people in different countries and in different parts of countries speak differently. So if you're going to move to the United States, perfecting your British English accent is not going to really help you very much. People from the US and from the UK use different words, different slang, and they say words differently. Even if you've been studying British English all your life, you can go to YouTube, find American English video makers, and watch their videos. Of course, you might need to remove some words from your vocabulary like lift, flat, aubergine. But anyways, you can just go to YouTube, you can listen to different people speaking differently, and you can understand differences in English in general, or you can zone in on one type of English and one accent. But that's not gonna help you speak English better. You need to focus on one type of accent. You need to focus on how that accent sounds, how the words are pronounced, how the words come together. And before you start watching any of those videos, you need to decide which accent you need. The fifth method for improving your English on YouTube is intonation. Follow the intonation of the speaker you're watching because this will help you sound more natural and more fluent, and it'll help you perfect that accent that you're focusing on. Different speakers with different accents, especially people from the United States, Australia, England, Scotland, and Ireland, then you'll hear very different intonation. But you're in luck because on YouTube, you can find lots of speakers that have the same accent. But I also have to give you another warning here because intonation can be very dangerous. Oh no, it's intonation! Run! Not dangerous like that. What I'm saying is when people make YouTube videos, they use a special type of intonation. They're presenting information to you, the audience. So I think you'll agree that most situations in life are not a YouTube video. And if you use the intonation that people use in YouTube videos, then you're gonna sound really, really weird. Weirdo! Well, you at least need to pay attention to two things: rising intonation and falling intonation. Falling intonation is usually used to show the end of a sentence or the end of an idea. Right now I'm speaking, and now I'm finished speaking. Rising intonation is what we use when we ask a question. If you've studied English for at least one day, then you've probably learned how we need to structure a question in English, right? We structure it differently than when we just say a sentence. For example, I might say, I have a marker, but if I want to ask a question, I say, do you have a marker? So I have to use this word do. A lot of times English speakers don't use question formation, they just use intonation to show that it's a question. So they can say, you have a marker? That was a question? Yes, that was a question. Because I used rising intonation. Listen carefully to how I say this sentence with two different types of intonation. With rising intonation, it's a question, and with falling intonation, it's just a normal statement or sentence. You have a marker? You have a marker. And that brings us to number 6, which is the best method for improving your fluency in English using YouTube. And that's speaking live. You might be thinking, but Chris, on YouTube, I just watch videos. I don't speak with people. How can I speak on YouTube? If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll find a section called Live. If you click that, you'll find videos where I'm speaking live with students. You can be one of those students too. And this is the best way for you to become more fluent in English because you need to speak to become fluent. You heard expressions, slang, and different types of intonation, and hopefully you wrote all of those down. Maybe you even paused those videos and you repeated what they said. But speaking to yourself isn't how you become fluent in English, right? I even heard some YouTube teachers say that you should speak to your pet. Hey, little chompers, do you want to speak English with me? Good conversation. No, you need to speak to a real person, and it's even better if you have a professional teacher to speak with. So if you want to speak English with me live, subscribe to this channel and click the bell button, and you'll be notified when I go live or when I release a video. But sometimes I'm very spontaneous. Woo! And if that doesn't work for you, I also have a program where we have live speaking lessons all day, every day with professional teachers. You'll find the link for that program under this video. So wait, I guess that means you really can become fluent using YouTube. Because you watched this video and now you know exactly what you need to do to become fluent. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah! Bye-bye.